We were now live on YouTube, and it's just turned 5 o'clock. I think we're still waiting on a couple folks, so we'll just wait another minute before we get started. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Welcome everybody again. This is Liz. I see we have a few more who have joined, so I think we can get started with our logistics for the evening. So before we take our usual time for our welcome and introductions, we'll go through some of our housekeeping slides, starting with instructions for selecting your interpretation channel. And so I will pass it to Tanya from Lingüística to share those instructions.
Thank you, Liz. Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a su reunión. Como siempre, queremos recordarles que ya tenemos la interpretación simultánea lista para ustedes. Si desean escuchar la junta en español y se unieron utilizando una computadora, van a ver en la parte de abajo de su pantalla el menú de Zoom, un icono de un mundo. Seleccionen ese icono y seleccionen el canal de español. También pueden silenciar el audio original para que nada más escuchen al intérprete y no dos voces a la vez. Si ustedes ingresaron utilizando un teléfono móvil o una tableta, sus opciones se van a ver un poquito diferentes. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y van a buscar el menú de los 3 puntitos, ya sea en la parte de arriba o abajo de su pantalla. Seleccionen donde dice interpretación de idiomas. Después seleccionen español. Y por último, el botón que dice Done, listo o finalizado. Y si necesitan ayuda, nos pueden dejar saber en el chat. Y ahora voy a dar mis instrucciones en inglés. Hello, everyone. This is just a reminder that we already have the interpretation feature ready for you. So if you're a monolingual English speaker, you do need to select the English channel. That way you can hear that communication from Spanish into English. If you're joining with a computer, you'll see a globe at the bottom of your screen. Please select the globe and select the English channel. If you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options will be a little bit different. You need to tap your screen and find the menu with the 3 dots either on top or at the bottom of your device. Select language interpretation, select English, and then select Done. If you need any help choosing your channel, please let us know in the chat and we can help you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Liz.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Tanya. I'll just give it a moment to make sure that you're put into the channel and everyone is able to hear the proper language. So if you're having any trouble right now, please do let us know. I'm seeing some thumbs up, so I think that means we are all set and ready to keep moving through these slides. So next up, we have a reminder for our renaming conventions. Again, this is important for our attendance tracking and stipend distribution processes. For our CSC members, we ask that you put the letter CSC in your Zoom name. And for residents who are a part of the stipend program, please also put the letter R. Again, this helps us track. If you're not able to do this, you might see us change your name at some point throughout the meeting. For all others who are attending this meeting, if we have, for our agency partners, please do put your agency in your Zoom name as well. If you are joining as a member of the public, we also ask that you indicate that in your Zoom name by putting the letter P. This helps us track who to call on when it comes to our public comment times. On this slide, we have our virtual meeting etiquette. So we ask for folks to stay muted unless you are speaking. And if you are calling on the phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute. Similarly, if you have a question or comment, we ask that you raise your hand. And if you are calling on the phone, you can press *9. And then we have another reminder for our residents in the stipend program to qualify for the stipend. Please stay on for at least 75% of the meeting tonight. On this slide, we have a review of our group agreements. We used to take some time to read through each of these in our meetings. Hopefully at this point they are familiar. So while we won't take the time to read them tonight, as always, they are in our minds as your facilitators and will be kept throughout the meeting tonight. On this slide, we have tonight's agenda. Again, we'll have some time for some welcome and introductions, and then we'll move to our action item tracker review. Then most of our time tonight will be spent on the road paving and sidewalk installation discussion. And then we'll have a quick update on outreach implementation. Then we'll move to our standing updates, and then we'll wrap up and have our final public comment. And so I'll stop sharing my screen and just want to welcome everybody again to our 42nd Arvin Lamont CSC meeting. My name is Liz, and I'm joined here tonight by my two co-facilitators, Maddie and Amy. If you're having any trouble throughout tonight's meeting, please do feel free to mention it in the chat, or you can always direct message any one of us, and we're happy to help. And so at this time, I would like to invite our co-leads to share some opening remarks with the group. And I see Bianca is ready and on camera, so maybe we can start with some opening remarks from you.
Well, I wanted to thank the Air District and the City of Arvin and the facilitating company to talk about the infrastructure or the road improvements that are happening in Arvin and Lamont, especially in Arvin right now. I know it's very productive. We've met with community members and there's only positive outcomes that are coming out from this conversation. So I'm grateful that it's finally happening and community members are able to discuss road improvements that are necessary in the area.
Yeah, echoing Bianca's words, 42nd meeting, that's 3.5 years of meetings, not counting the breaks in between. So just a big thank you to everyone for sticking through this process and, making sure that we get stuff like the road improvement projects and lawnmower events that we've been getting out of this. Just a big thank you.
Thank you both. And this is Liz, and just want to echo what has been shared already. It's the 42nd meeting, and so much work has been done to this point. And I know folks are really excited to have this discussion on the infrastructure project. So before we get there, I would like to just invite our Air District representative to share any opening remarks. And I think I'm not seeing Jessica, but perhaps Stephanie would share.
Thanks, Liz. Good evening, everyone. This is Stephanie Ng, and I'm a program manager in our Community Strategies and Resources Department, which oversees the implementation of AB 617. Unfortunately, Jess couldn't make it tonight because she's in North Carolina for an air quality conference. But I'm delighted to be here and feel super lucky that I get to be at this meeting in particular because I know that we're discussing such exciting and high priority topics as the paving projects that Bianca just mentioned. I know that folks have been really excited and so engaged in this process this whole time. And so I'm looking forward to just jumping right in. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is Liz again. So at this time, I am happy to transition us to our next agenda item, and that is the action item tracker review. So as most of us, I think, know at this point, we take this time at every meeting to go through the action item tracker. And this is all to ensure transparency and accountability in this process. really to make sure that you all as the community are able to keep up to date and track all of the progress that's being made towards your suggestions. And so as Eric reads through, at the end, feel free to ask any questions, and anything that can't be answered tonight, we'll note down and come back to it at a future meeting. So pass it to you, Eric.
Alrighty, thank you, Liz. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Go ahead, and if folks could let me know if they could see my screen. Action items, perfect, thank you. I see some thumbs up there. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and review our action items for today. We have 5 action items, one of which is in progress and the rest are incomplete. So I'll go ahead and start in our in progress section. Our first in progress item, I know folks wanted to solicit some more feedback regarding our outreach methods just for all of our community programs. We're happy to announce that there is going to be another outreach subcommittee meeting. This will be quarterly, in which our first quarterly meeting will be on September 12th of this year. Okay, go back to the top and I'll go into our completed section. So starting off, this item is for the Air District. And I know folks wanted to receive outreach flyers, including our AB 617 boundary map. So we did make those changes and we did mail out some flyers to some folks that requested them. This flyer is on our website now. I could drop a link after this. And if you wanted to receive more hard copy flyers or just had more suggestions, please always feel free to reach out to us via our email right here and our phone number. Okay, I'll go into our next item. Again, this item is for the Air District, and I know folks wanted us to reach out to those members that did not receive a lawnmower during our Clean Green Yard Machine event, and we want to thank the folks that were there and that did help out for that event as well. And just happy to say that we did give folks calls, emails, and even mailed out paper applications to the folks that did not receive a lawnmower during the event. Alrighty, moving down, 2 more items. Our next item is for Kern Cog, and I know folks wanted to go in a little deeper into the conversation about their cargo study. And Kern Cog did provide that a few weeks ago on August 14th, and they did talk about the Kern area regional goods movement operations, or again, cargo study. And yeah, so thank you, Kern Cog, for that. All right, our final item, which does relate to the item before. So the Air District and Kern Cog will continue to update the CSC on upcoming outreach and community events. So as always, if Kern Cog has any future events, we'll go ahead and forward that information to you all. Oh, and the Shafter community as well. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and pass it back to Liz. Thank you.
This is Liz. Thank you so much for walking through the action items, Eric. At this time, I'll just pause for a moment to see if there are any questions or clarifications coming up for folks before we move on to the next item. Okay, I am not seeing any, so I think at this time we can transition to our road paving and sidewalk installation agenda item. I know everyone, as mentioned earlier, has been waiting a long time to hear some of these updates, and I know Christine from the city of Arvin has been doing a lot of work to get everything to the point that it's at today. Very excited to have you here to share those updates. And so before we pass it to Christine, we will have the Air District begin with some presentation and context setting, reminding folks of some of the other infrastructure projects that are going on in the Arvin Lamont community. And then we'll hear from Christine on the specifics for the Arvin projects. And so at this time, I think I will pass it to Stephanie from the Air District to walk walk us through the presentation.
Thanks so much, Liz. This is Stephanie again. And like Liz mentioned, I have just a quick presentation to, I think, just set the stage of how this measure has been going historically. I know that this has been a long process, and we are super excited for the progress that we've had with Kern County, and tonight are super excited for progress, to have Christine here and to hear about the work that she's been doing with community members, and to kind of move forward with the remainder of the paving funding that we have for these projects in Arvin. So I'm just going to share my screen. So as a reminder to folks, this slide just kind of shows the current funding progress that we have. As a reminder, I know this is probably familiar to folks, but as a reminder, we have $12 million that's allocated for road improvement, sidewalk, and bike path projects in our Arvin Lamont boundary. And as a reminder to folks, we have just about $6 million that the CSC unanimously supported last year for the Kern County portion of projects. Kern County, this is something that we took to our board for approval that they were really excited about. In Kern County, we've been actively working with them to move forward with these projects. And so what that leaves us is that we do have $6 million to work with the city of Arvin now to address kind of the remaining projects with the remaining funding. And that's something that we'll do today. As just a reminder to folks, I just wanted to share kind of a reminder about some of the existing projects that the CSC has supported, which are the two projects that are in the Lamont area. One of which is the Panama Road pedestrian path. That's just about $4.7 million. And again, this is with Kern County. And the second project that the CSC supported and also our district board did is the Mountain View Road pedestrian path project, and that's just about $1.2 million. And so again, kind of the next steps for the remainder of this funding is today, the city of Arvin has put together a set of projects that are based on community input and priorities. I know that Christine will talk about this a lot in her presentation, but we just so appreciate Christine's willingness to really engage and work with community members. I know she's worked with a lot of you to build up this set of recommendations that she's going to show today. And so, yeah, again, today's goal is for the CSC to, of course, have the opportunity to review and provide feedback on these prioritized projects, with the ultimate goal for all of us to move forward with $6 million in paving projects to allow the city to begin implementing this work in the community. And so with that, I'm happy to pass to Christine.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to finally be at this point now. I'm assuming you have the slides up and ready to go. Is that correct?
Yep, I could share those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So we evaluated the projects that the committee chose, and overall, the total value of all of the sidewalk, curb, gutter, and road projects was over 15.7 million. And we started working with the committee and residents to prioritize, because we only have $6 million in the budget. Next slide, please. So these are a brief listing of the 9 projects that were evaluated, and the total cost was $15.7 million. Next slide, please. So there were 3 projects that rose to the top of the priority list for community residents. And that was Comanche Drive, which in the last 3 years, actually longer than that, but even before that, working with community groups, that the residents wanted sidewalks along Comanche Drive. So that was identified by residents as a priority project. And this project proposes to add sidewalk along Comanche Drive from Varsity to Shipper, and to also include ADA improvements on curb and gutter at the crosswalks and located at the curb, so that everybody can access this sidewalk. And the estimate for that project, which is a priority project for the CSC, as I understand it, is $1.525 million. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next slide then. A huge priority project for the community. And when I giggle about this, it's only because I've actually driven and rode down the sidewalk and looked at the condition of South A Street. It probably is, in my opinion, one of the worst roads now that Franklin has already been repaired. South A Street is just a crumbling road. It looks like cobblestone. And of significance is the fact that many of you residents live in this area and are traversing this road. You're going on the sidewalk, you're trying to drive down the road, and it is really just a horrible road. So I could see why the committee looked at this road and said, this is a really bad one and we should really prioritize this. But more importantly, South A Street serves residents in the area of Arvin. It serves Haven Drive Middle School, a learning center, Bear Mountain Pizza, several churches. And in this area, I think it would really benefit the residents because this is an area in which you live and really the road is just horrible. Also, we would like to add intersection improvements, crosswalks and ADA improvements. Next slide, please. Sorry, the total value of South A Street was roughly 2.5 million. So it's a big project. You can see why it costs so much money. And then finally, we reviewed Derby, South Derby from Shipper to State Route 223. And this is an important roadway because it serves many of the school children in that area. So Franklin, Haven Drive, it hits all these areas where right now residents and our youth are walking on a dirt road in some sections of this road. So this project proposes to improve the sidewalk, improve areas of pavement and roadway, and curb and gutter so that it's ADA compliant and people with difficulties can manage these ADA curb ramps and be able to walk back and forth to school and for residents. So this was another high priority project, and the estimate for that project is $3.291 million. I did want to say before I continue to the summary slide that we have our on-call engineer here on this call. His name is Sam Lutz. And Sam, if you could just come on for a minute, come on camera. And if we have any technical questions that are really for engineering, Sam is here and he will be able to help answer your questions on the technical side of the project. Next slide, please. So in total, the 3 priority projects out of the 9 that were all evaluated, we prepared estimates on all of them, was the Comanche Drive sidewalk project, South A Street, which is pretty much all the sidewalks in the road, and South Derby. So the total amount that is available, the total estimate for these projects is $7.361 million. We only have $6 million in the budget. So we would be over budget by $1.3 million if we were to move forward on all 3 of these projects. It is possible that we can value engineer the 3rd project or try to cut some sections of the project out to try to make it within that $6 million budget. And my recommendation and just my opinion, if we're going to cut any portion of the project, maybe we should consider South Derby and just not extend the sidewalks all the way to Shipper. And we'll work with you to do whatever we can do to value engineer the project. But as of this moment, the 3 priority projects are coming in at $7.3 million, and we only have $6 million to move forward on the budget. So there will be some decisions that need to be made by the steering committee. This is your priority list of projects, and we're just here to help evaluate and make these projects happen. And with that, I wanted to, we can go to the next slide, introduce you to Sam, who's our on-call engineer, who can answer any technical questions to the extent possible.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Christine. I see we have one hand up already from Gustavo. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know that there were some meetings between Christine and the residents of Arvin, but just listening to Christine's presentation, I know that I think Comanche also have a school, and Christine was mentioning that maybe one of the projects not doing it like as proposed, one of the if I understood correctly, like some of the projects can be reduced. And what I was thinking is it possible maybe to include at least the blocks that are close to the school at Comanche, so kids that will be walking to the school can be safer, and maybe considering, as Christine mentioned, considering maybe not, if needed, cutting a little bit of the areas from the other projects that may be less impacting to the community.
And like I said, we're willing to work with the community and do what we can to, make this a community choice project and do what we can to try to bring the cost down. But right now, this is what we're looking at. So we wanted to bring it to your attention and put it back in the hands of the CSC to make their decisions.
And the other comment that I also had, maybe, if the rest of the steering committee members support the idea, maybe understanding that there is not enough funding for the three different projects that were presented, but maybe approving up to the 6 million that are available for Arvin, and doing as much as possible with that, because I believe if cutting down Comanche, it will be below the 6 million, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so if I actually I was told by some of the participants that I think it's about 200,000. If I'm correct, maybe just approving the 6 million, and with those 200,000 extra, trying to do sidewalks near schools, trying to make it safer for students and kids, and use the maximum potential available funding to make the improvements. If that's possible, I think you mentioned, Christine, that the city is willing to work with community. I think maybe if it's a good idea, maybe approving the up to the maximum possible, and then deciding with the residents, what cutting a little bit of some of the other projects, and including some areas that are important for each of the projects.
This is Stephanie. If I could quickly respond to Gustavo, I appreciate, I think your good summary of this is exactly, I think, what was on our mind as the district too of, and maybe if I can summarize, and I already see hands up and folks thinking about it, but some questions to committee members about is we have these 3 projects that I know that Christine has worked with a lot of community members to help prioritize, that a lot of folks are already supportive of it. And so we're really excited that we have these projects, but they do exceed our budget of what's allowable. And so some thoughts I think that are on our mind is we'd love to hear from folks. Are these projects the priorities that you all are thinking of? Does this align with kind of what you were hoping to see for this $6 million of paving projects? And to Gustavo's point, I think another discussion is any recommendations from folks of, you know, because we're exceeding that budget right now, are there parts of these projects that maybe we can, you know, think about updating and reducing parts of it to help us meet that budget? I think, Gustavo, is that summarizing your thoughts? Okay, seeing you nodding. So yeah, I'd love to hear from folks about those 2 points. Are these the priority projects? Do you support these projects? And maybe out of these projects, are there areas in which you can see, you know, we really like this, you know, part of the project, but we can maybe see this portion reduced or shortened a little bit so we can make sure that these projects fit the budget, that we can move them forward.
Tengo una sugerencia, pero no supe cómo alzar la manita. Disculpen, mi computadora se descompuso y estoy en el teléfono. Mi sugerencia es, estamos bajos como medio millón, ¿verdad? Medio y cachito. Pero si le piden a mi cooperación a la ciudad, porque pues la ciudad también es la que se tiene que encargar de las calles, ¿verdad? Antes este proyecto está ayudando bastante. So, pedirle ayuda a la ciudad para lo que resta para el arreglo de las calles.
Thank you. This is Liz. So it sounds like maybe there's a question in there, like in addition to brainstorming ways to cut down on the proposed projects that are a priority to fit that budget, are there also opportunities for additional fundraising? So I think, was that the question that was being asked?
This is
Fundraising by the city.
Yes.
The
And so
city chipping in the rest.
thanks, Gustavo.
Thank you. Yeah, not sure, Christine, if you have any thoughts to that now, or
Oh,
maybe
you
want to come
want,
back to
okay.
it.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna let everybody talk and then we're gonna respond. So this actually was brought up in our last meeting when we were prioritizing the projects. And the issue right now, and I can't say that we couldn't do that at a later date, as we're actually working on the project and we see that we have an opportunity to get some additional funds. But right now, we have been matching like our reserve funds for roads and streets. We've been using that to match our existing projects, because what happened during COVID is all the cost of everything went up. So we already had some projects in the pipeline that we had to provide match to, such as the Franklin Street project. We are anticipating another award from CDBG for the remaining length of Haven Drive. And so I would have to ask if that's possible, but I do know that our current road funds are being used to provide that extra funding for these existing projects that we know we're coming up. So until we bid out like Haven Drive and see what the bids come in versus the shortfall, because when the state gave us that money, they based it on 2019 prices and would not allow us to resubmit and ask for more money. So I already know we're going to be putting in money for the Haven Drive project. So that is a conversation that I can have with our city manager, but right now we don't have the ability to do it with this upcoming Haven Drive project. But what I can tell you that I'm currently doing is evaluating the other projects for AB 617 and trying to start writing grants for those projects. So it's not just these 3 projects, but I'm looking at the other existing projects that the committee has identified and trying to holistically import them into future grant applications. So that's happening right now. If we have funding for it, it's not an issue, but right now I can't obligate the city to provide additional funding for these 3 projects when I know that the Haven Drive project is about to move forward, and we are going to be short on that project. And in the last 3 road projects that we've done, the city has taken their road money and put in upwards of $500,000 up to $700,000 for each one of those projects. So that would be a conversation I think we would have at the bid stage. So once we get the bids in, the contractors have submitted what it's going to cost and we can evaluate it. I think that would be the appropriate time for me to go back to our city manager and say, hey, we're only short a few $100,000. Is there any way we can find some additional funding? And with that, I hope that's a satisfactory response, and let's hear from the other folks who have their hands raised.
Thank you, Christine. We can go to Mario. Thank you.
Yeah, the thing is, it sounds really good, but I prefer them to fix up the roads what they already chose and try to figure out a way to get the funds, because it's overdue already. You know, many years been passed, roads never been fixed, and it's overdue. I think they should just stay what the project is and try to figure out a way to get that money to fix up that part.
Thank you,
Yep.
Mario.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so it sounds like what I'm hearing from Mario is a preference or suggestion to try to advocate or raise those funds to complete the project as it is, rather than making changes. And maybe I'll just add for context and remind folks that no decisions are going to be made in tonight's meeting. So this is all just brainstorming. And so really glad to see all the hands up and hear all of folks' perspectives. So we can go to Bianca next.
Thank you, Christine, for presenting to us the road improvements. And I know Sam's here also. He's been doing a lot of the work. I do agree with my coworker, or my coworker Gustavo, in regards to maybe doing pieces that could improve the air quality for the children that are walking to the schools. I know that you explained to us in person that there's some money, like contingency money, that after bidding could potentially help. I did appreciate that you explained to us what it is and how the contingency is there for a increase on maybe material, things like that. But as you mentioned earlier, if there's anything that we could support you in grants to fulfill these 3 top projects that are important, I think we could help out in maybe supporting with the city council, just presenting that if there's extra funding to use it for these type of projects.
Thank you, Bianca. And maybe we can go to Maria next.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Soy María Estela. Yo estoy muy contenta porque al fin ya Cristín nos presentó un proyecto. Ya nosotros escogimos las calles que son la prioridad aquí en Arvin. Y yo pienso que la Comanche, pues es muy importante, ¿ah? Es muy importante porque también, o sea, por ahí pasan muchos niños a la escuela. Entonces, los 3 proyectos para mí son muy importantes y a mí me gustaría que se quedaran los 3 y seguir buscando los fondos. Sabemos que nada más hay 6 millones para Arvin. Pero todavía vamos empezando con el proyecto, vamos empezando. Yo sé que va paso por paso, todavía se tienen que buscar los contratistas, a lo mejor hacer una subasta, a ver qué contratistas da mejor precio, aparte de este precio que ya presentó Christine. Posiblemente algunos nos den un precio más bajo que esto, y así se va a ir juntando para la Comanche, que nos den un precio más bajo y ir viendo de qué manera se pueden hacer las 3 calles. Como decimos todos, el proyecto ya está, o sea, ya está presentado, era lo que queríamos, y ahorita pues es buscar la manera de encontrar los fondos, y que Christine pues también trabaje más de lo que ya está trabajando en buscar más becas. Y yo creo que pues vamos a seguir adelante y a seguir echándole ganas, y estamos contentos. Aquí en Arvin estamos contentos porque ya se presentó este proyecto, y hay que seguir adelante. Gracias.
Thank you so much for the comment, Maria Estela. We can go to Jesus next.
Thank you. I just wanted to second the idea of prioritizing areas impacting children. So like Comanche, and then the idea of the city of Arvin pitching in the rest of the remaining amount that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Sandra, we can go to you next.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna ask if the city of Arvin has any ARPA funding left that maybe that they can use to supplement these projects. I know funding is limited, but ARPA does have to be spent by next year, so this might be a good way to utilize it. And additionally, maybe there's other like federal or state funding that the city can tie into, like safe routes to school or RTP and things like that. Definitely encourage the city to keep looking to ensure that these projects come into fruition, even if there's not enough funding available.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Currently, we are also using ARPA funds for existing projects that are road projects. So again, like I said, I think that we really need to value engineer these projects. And when everybody's done with their questions, I'd like to bring in Sam, who is our on-call city engineer. He can more identify. Another thought that we did have is that perhaps if we grouped a couple of these projects together and bid it out, like there are 2 projects that Sam will identify that are very similar in scope, that perhaps we could bid those 2 projects out on one bid, and that would perhaps bring down the cost because it would be like a package value project. So in other words, if a contractor wants to bid on a project and 2 of those projects are grouped together, that makes sense. For example, it's all sidewalk and it's not just road paving, because it's different equipment that they would use for road paving than the sidewalks. It's possible that those costs could come down. We just don't know until we actually get the bids, but that would also move the project forward. You know, I am willing to give it my all to try to find additional funds, but I just want to caution the CSC and that everybody understands, because I am very transparent about these projects. And that is, if we apply for another grant to forward and add on to these projects, most grants will say you can't start the project until we fund it. And certain state applications could take 8 months, 12 months for them to give us an award. Even if they're going to award us, we may have to wait. You know, for example, HCD and CDBG, they take almost 8 to 12 months to give us a grant contract. And what that means is that would slow down these projects, because you cannot start the project until you have all the funding together. And that's just something that's typical of grants. So I really feel like we need to move forward and try to value engineer this and put them out for bid and see what happens and see what we can do at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. This is Liz. I think that was really helpful context and information. So we have one more hand for now from Francisco. Go ahead.
Sí, buenas tardes. Muchas gracias y estoy muy contento que se hagan los proyectos esos de las calles, porque la calle La Southgate está terrible y me gustaría que se arreglara pusieran por lo menos la banqueta en la Comanche y la Bar City, porque allí hay un pedazo que no hay banqueta desde la Nancy hasta la Bar City y por ahí todos los niños caminan para ir a la high school y ahora que abren el colegio también y no hay banqueta, tienen que caminar por la carretera o por un lote baldío que está ahí atravesarse. Entonces me gustaría que tomaran en cuenta eso. Y muchas gracias por escucharme. Que tengan buena tarde.
Thank you so much for that comment. And I see we have a hand up from Stephanie, so we can go to you.
Thanks, Liz. I actually do have a comment, but I know Christine said that Sam also had some things that he wanted to add to the discussion. So maybe I'll pass to Christine and Sam for anything they want to add before I comment.
I think, well, one thing I would add is that the main thing here is to prioritize our projects, and then when looking at the projects, prioritize what's the important aspects of those projects. So that way, when we do come in and get the final design done and know our quantities and have a much more accurate estimate, we can say, okay, these are the areas that if we drop it, it's not gonna, how would I put it? It's not gonna not deliver a project that you guys want. That's the main thing I would say there, is that prioritizing the projects and prioritizing what's the important aspects of the project. Like for instance, Christina talked about a South Derby, and if we had to cut a portion of that project out, what would be the portion that you wouldn't want? You know, like if we had to cut it out, you would basically say, well, then we don't want the project. Those kinds of things are what are really important for us to know when we're doing the design and engineering, so we know that we've covered what the community wants. That's really what I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. And Steph, go ahead.
Thanks, Liz. This is Stephanie. I just wanted to thank everyone for the comments. I'm taking notes and overall hearing a lot of support for Comanche. I think I heard a few comments there, South A Street, and also just a lot of support for supporting the areas where kids are walking to school, which is all great feedback. Some things that and I know that maybe Christine and Sam can also speak to this as well, is I just maybe wanted to quickly high level discuss some of the things that are covered by this funding. Overall, you know, I'm not the paving expert. I have someone on my team who Jeff is here, who's much more of a paving expert. I know Sam probably also is much more in tune, but some of the things that this funding would cover are of course like the construction of any of these roads. It covers the design engineering. So just to give some folks, I know that we've talked about this a little with the Kern County project. Paving projects do take a minute. It takes the folks in this, at the city to go and, design the projects before they can actually do the work and construct anything. It also goes towards, for the folks that are managing this contract, that's all something that's covered. And so I just wanted to bring these things up is for the team, and Christine, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you have Sam working on this project, but I think for the teams to really be able to dig in, do the engineering work that they need to, this is something that would need to be contracted with the district too. Before we can release funding and kind of move forward with those pieces of it. And so just wanted to keep that in mind, that for us to be able to kind of move forward with these things, we have to move forward with what funding, again, that $6 million that we do have. And yeah, I just wanted to also maybe elevate some of the comments that I heard from Christine. Definitely hearing also the suggestions of kind of the city working to seek alternate funding sources, which I appreciate that comment. And just also wanted to elevate, I think, a comment Christine had of potentially if there's a, a bundle of projects that falls under the $6 million that folks wanted to really support and kind of move forward with and see kind of what was like remaining from the design engineering phase and all of that. That's something that we're open to too. We don't have to support all 6 million projects to, at once for us to move forward. If there's just, portions of the project that folks really are gung-ho about and really wanted to support. Christine, I think it sounded like from our conversations prepping for this call that the city is pretty ready to get started whenever the CSC is, ready to support projects.
Yes, that is very true. And, my hope and desire is that the CSC, moves forward their priority projects, because remember now, we still need to design. I mean, we have the preliminary drawing and we have the estimate, but in order to bid these projects out, they need to be submitted with a design. So until the CSC says, hey, we're going to move forward with these projects, we can't start design and every contract so that we can move forward with that project. And so, it is dependent on what the committee residents want and what they ultimately choose.
Thank you for adding that, Christine. I see we have a few more hands up and we can go to Gabriela.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Gabriela Ojeda, soy residente de Arvin y yo fui una de las personas que nos juntamos con Christine para hablar acerca de los proyectos también caminé las calles y cuando el ingeniero nos explicó, nos dijo que priorizáramos la Comanche y Derby porque tienen lo mismo que mismo material y mismas cosas que se van a usar y que esa será su recomendación de él para empezar a avanzar y yo apoyo eso, apoyo lo que mi compañera María Estela dijo, que sí, ya hemos discutido eso, ya nos hemos juntado, ya caminamos las calles y ya estuvimos en la junta con Christine y todos estuvimos en acuerdo que era nuestra prioridad. Gracias.
Thank you for adding that comment. And we can go to Lorena next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorena Mendibles from Caltrans District 6 here, Fresno. I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I know I haven't called in the last few times, just been out of the office, but I just wanted to talk to Christine. I know, Christine, you've done so much for City of Arvin in regards to these funding opportunities and grants. And I was part of the walk assessment that took place last year. And just wanted to make sure since, State Route 223 is part of Caltrans jurisdiction, if there's any way that we could be involved or to try to help in this type of funding. I did put in the chat for HSIP funds. That might be something to look at. I know Christine responded. So if you need me, Christine, to set something up over here at Caltrans in regards to maybe our engineer, Colleen Vidanoff, she is our HSIP coordinator. We can just have a discussion, doesn't hurt. Maybe there'll be something there that you can apply for. So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Liz. Really appreciate showing up with that willingness and excitement to collaborate. And we can go to María Estela.
No, soy Roberto García, buenas tardes. Solo para decirles que como residente de aquí de Arvin, y estuvimos reunidos con Christine el día que tuvimos la junta para priorizar los proyectos estos. Entonces, lo que yo opino es que, como hablamos ese día, es que se tomaran las dos primeras calles y dejara la Comanche a un lado, que la dejáramos, si no se podían reunir los fondos, que la dejáramos por un momento y continuáramos con los dos primeros proyectos, que son las primeras dos calles que van a llevar banqueta y pavimento. Entonces, para nosotros los residentes, esas son las dos calles principales y dejar la Comanche en espera por un momento mientras se reúnen los fondos para continuar con ella. Gracias.
Thank you for the comment. And wait, we have one more hand up from Bianca.
Yes, I also agree with Don Roberto mentioned right now. I know that we did have a conversation and I forgot and I was looking over my notes. So Roberto gave an amazing comment that we did agree when we had a meeting to do the first two projects that needed the most help, which was South A and Derby, because their state of road is really bad, and Comanche, just in case if there's some extra funding or any leftover funding, or we could work together with the city, we'll be able to do that.
Thank you, Bianca. This is Liz, and I see one more hand up from Gustavo. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to stimulate the thinking, I was thinking maybe, couple of options, one is what Roberto just mentioned, maybe, I think as Christine mentioned, I think residents are looking forward to move this forward. One option that I was thinking, maybe if we are ready to make a decision supporting the two streets that Roberto mentioned, understanding that that's a little bit below the 6 million, but what that may create is, let's say that the city go through the process and the bidding, and hopefully the estimates come below of the current estimates, and there is some funding. Maybe at that time the city can apply for Comanche. So that may be one option that I was thinking. The other one is, do we approve the 6 million and first, understanding that to prioritize the two streets projects that Roberto mentioned, and the remaining funding, use that at Comanche, to cover at least the most needed areas, so the city can have access to the funding and plan for that sooner than later. So those two options, I was thinking.
Thank you, Gustavo. This is Liz. Stephanie, I see you unmuted. I'm not sure if you were about to make a comment. Oh,
Thanks.
go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. This is Stephanie, and thanks, Gustavo, for those thoughts that are percolating in your mind. And I think maybe I'll just share from the district perspective that that's something that we could be open to as well. And I'm maybe curious, Christine, if any of those suggestions that Gustavo had would be suitable. I think, I think I'd also maybe hinted at is, if there are a couple of projects that fall under the 6 million that folks are excited to move forward with, that's something that we're open to as well. And then if there, is interest in those two projects, and then making amendments to the Comanche project to kind of fall under the $6 million. That's, those are all things that are suitable to us. And so I maybe just wanted to hear from Christine if, obviously this is something that the city is going to have to implement. And so just wanted to check in if either of those sounded good to you.
Thank you. This really is a community decision, so I'm trying not to have any influence on that because all of these projects came from the steering committee. But having said that, if you look at the costs, just, evaluating the costs, if we did South A Street and South Derby, that's just under $6 million. The Comanche project is 1.5 million roughly. And so if we had funds left over, we could do Comanche or a portion of it and then seek additional funds for, the remainder of Comanche. But again, I do have to really encourage whatever the committee decides that we want to get moving on the design right away so that we're not held up. I want to move these forward. And, on whatever we were able to fund in the first two projects, whatever's left over, I assure you that I will try to find the funding. This community means so much to me, all of your family. And, we've been working together even before AB 617 started. So, I want to see that your vision and your desires are fulfilled. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Christine. And we can take one last comment from Gustavo.
Yeah, just to expand on, I think Stephanie's comments, for the district, let's say that we try to approve, as much as possible, as mentioned, the prioritizing the two streets that Roberto mentioned, and if possible, doing at least pieces in Comanche. For the district, if we try to do that, Christine will have to go back and amend the Comanche project and come back and present that, or can we say we approve the maximum and then Christine can go back and come back with what we can do with the remaining funding after the two prioritized streets? How does that work, Stephanie?
Thanks, Gustavo. And then I'm going to start, and then Jeff, you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And so Gustavo's question is like, what do we need to do as an air district to contract with the city of Arvin and to be able to release the funds for the city to use? And I think that's a really great question, because my understanding is we do actually need, a complete project. So we need to know what streets were being done. We need to know the budget for it. We need to know the emission reduction calculations. And, generally what we're looking at is we need some kind of, a full project that we'd want to move forward with. That way we know exactly what's being funded and what the funds are being spent on. Jeff, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, that's about it in a nutshell. Really, the scope of the project, and then just an overview of the costs, preliminary estimate of the costs. And yeah, that would be really what we would need to get it going.
So this is Stephanie again. So Gustavo, to your question, I think maybe you were percolating in your head of, can we say like, and the rest goes to Comanche perhaps? And I think on our perspective, for us to be able to contract, we need to know what parts of Comanche were being done, what parts of the budget were being used for what emission reductions are happening as well, for us to actually contract and move forward with that.
I have an idea that might appeal to the committee. If the steering committee could possibly approve, the full design and move forward with Derby and South A Street, and then put a stipulation that they want to fund the design for Comanche, that has a big benefit too, because if we have the design ready, we can then immediately move that project to bid. And the other thing that I'm not sure if everybody understands is that when you typically apply for a federal infrastructure project, they want to know that it's shovel ready. And what that means is that the design is ready to go. So having that design and those plans and specs in place enables us to pull the trigger on moving it forward, even if it's partially federally funded or partially state funded because we ran out of money. Just having that project as shovel ready as it can be and moving forward perhaps with CEQA and NEPA would put the community in a much better position for us to seek funding for that third project. So this just came off the top of my head and I just wanted to share it with the community.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep speaking. Stephanie, I think if I understand correctly, let's say that we approve it, what we approve tonight, if we approve it, so you are going to have to present this to your board for a final approval of the district, right?
This is Stephanie.
And those and for the board approval, we'll have to kind of have the final documentation of the projects, right?
Yes, this is Stephanie. This is typically the types of this project. We did the same thing when we took the Kern County portion of the projects. This is typically something we take to our board, and in that board package are the same exact things I just described. We need to know exactly where the project is happening. We need to understand what the budget is, what the emission reductions values are, all of that when we take it to our board.
Yeah, with that, I'm just trying to push the envelope to keep going. And it's up to mainly, I think we all have a vote here, but mainly to the residents of Arvin, understanding that if the way I understand, if we decide to include the 3 projects, I think the city will have to go back and present something that will be, up to the 6 million or below. And that will take more time, as I understand. What I was thinking, maybe, how about if it works for Christine and the residents of Arvin, approving the 2 streets that Roberto mentioned and other folks say that approve, leaving out for now Comanche, and having that in motion already, those 2 projects in motion already, and then maybe Christine and the residents of Arvin working on Comanche, maybe looking for other funds, but also after it is approved and maybe after the city put it on bidding and maybe hoping that they will get a lower bid and then there may be more funding. Maybe at that time can the city and residents can see if there is some funding available, maybe reducing or covering Comanche if possible, or reducing to the available funding. So I'm just trying to think, can we approve something to, because I know that Christine and also the Arvin residents want to see things moving.
Yeah, thank you, Gustavo. And before we go to the hand that's raised, I think, was that a question that you had there for Christine about whether you could move forward with those 2 projects and then come back to the Comanche Street and either work on ways to get it within budget or find extra funds? Was that right?
Yeah, I mean, we will work with whatever the CSC decides. If we start now and the committee decides 2 projects move forward, then we would work with Sam to get the design done and then get it done as quickly as possible and put it out to bid. So that would be the plan.
Thank you. And we can go to María Estela.
Sí, pues igualmente, solamente para volverles a decir que estamos todos de acuerdo, ya lo hablamos, y si se tenía que hacer la Comanche a un lado, pues se tiene que hacer en espera y meter los 2 proyectos que ya se dijeron. Estamos de acuerdo, porque creo yo que si metemos los 3 se va a tardar más tiempo, entonces no tiene caso estar perdiendo más tiempo. Mejor meter los 2 proyectos y esperarnos con la Comanche en el futuro a ver qué pasa, pero estamos de acuerdo en eso.
This is Liz. Thank you so much. And maybe this is a good time to pause and see if we do have some consensus around this new proposal that I'm hearing from the community, which is folks do support moving forward with those two projects and coming back to the Comanche one. And I want to confirm, okay, I see a thumbs up from Gustavo, so that sounds accurate. And I see a hand up from Cesar.
Yes, want to express support for that as well. And if there's, I know Christine, and I think maybe the engineer mentioned it as well, but if there's anything that we can do to also expedite either like the plan or the process for Comanche so that it's ready, so that that project is ready so that we can take advantage of it even outside of the 617 process, I think that that could also be helpful for folks. That way we can get Comanche going so it doesn't, you know, get pushed back through any approval process or grant process. So I think prioritizing those two is important. And if there's anything that we can do as a CSC to expedite the Comanche one, I think we can also maybe be helpful in that way as well.
Thank you. And Steph, I'm not sure if you, yeah, I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Liz. I did actually maybe quickly want to, I know that Christine had a concept and I actually maybe just wanted to follow up on that. We can check in with the team, but something that I think Christine had brought up is, and something that I would need to follow up with our grants team about is perhaps this idea of just doing the design of a project and not doing the actual kind of building or construction of it. I'll have to check on our project plan that we submitted, but I don't know that that alone would be eligible for these funds because that alone wouldn't allow, you know, we wouldn't be able to do emission reduction calculations and we wouldn't be able to bring to our board, you know, again, what I mentioned, a complete project where, you know, we can see what's being built, what the funds are for, you know, that kind of thing. And so I just don't know that that is something that would fall under the eligible cost as a package. But I think to lots of folks' points, we're happy to work with Christine in kind of whatever way we need or bring this back at a future meeting if we want to, you know, of course, I'm hearing continue talking about Comanche.
This is Liz. Thank you for adding that. And sounds like that was maybe an action item that we can follow up on, but first just want to check how that is landing for all of our residents and CSC members here. Is there any opposition to what has been proposed from a few CSC members tonight to move forward with the two projects? And I'm forgetting the names, I think A Street and Derby Street, and then to come back at another meeting, talk with Christine and the engineers about what else can be done to not lose the Comanche project as well. And so that's what, excuse me, that's what I'm hearing. Please feel free to correct any part of that that was not accurate. But if that was an accurate portrayal of the conversation so far, I'll ask again if there's any opposition to moving forward with that proposed plan tonight. Okay, I'm just taking an extra long pause just in case, but I'm not seeing any opposition. So I think we have reached a consensus for now to have Christine and her team move forward with those two projects. And we'll have an action item to come back to the Comanche project as well. And it sounds like, Christine, more action will be done on your end. I'm not sure if you want to maybe speak to any of those next steps.
Sure. Well, we'll have to get together with Sam. Sam, I had a quick question for you. You had said that two of the projects could be grouped really well together. Does that work with the South A Street and Derby, those two projects? Not to put you on the spot, but
Yes, no,
Remember, if those were the two that you would have naturally grouped, so maybe we could do like a value engineer bid package and put them both together and see if we can come up with the best way to move them forward at a good cost.
yeah, those were the two I would put together just because they both have a lot of road reconstruct. So it's kind of the same type of construction processes that would be going on and traffic control that you would need. So I would group those two together, yes.
Okay, thank you for your comment. That's very helpful because if we can group two projects in one bid, then that could potentially save us some money. And, you know, I have heard for a very long time how important Comanche is to our residents, and I want to, you know, be able to do whatever we can for that project as well. So thank you, Sam.
All right, well, thank you so much, Christine and Sam and everybody who has put so much work into getting all of this to the point that it's at today. I know folks have been waiting a long time, and it sounds like some action is going to happen pretty soon, and that is really exciting. So just want to thank you so much again. And if there are no other comments at this time, I'll pass it to Amy to transition to the next item.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Liz. Congratulations to the CSC for moving forward with this consensus, and we look forward to see the next iteration of these proposals. For this next agenda item, based on your input, we will have an update from the Air District about the outreach implementation that's been happening. And I just want to pause for a moment and reflect on all the contributions that the community, the steering committee, has provided to the Air District, and make note that the Air District has really taken your feedback seriously and adapted and changed their outreach to ensure that they really are meeting the needs of residents in the Arvin Lamont community. So for this next update, you should be able to recognize some of the changes that the Air District has made based on all the recommendations that you all have provided. So with that said, I'm going to pass it to Maricela to provide us an overview on all things outreach. Maricela.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Muchas gracias, Amy. Soy Marisela, la supervisora del Departamento de Alcance aquí en el Distrito del Aire. Y hoy estoy aquí, como mencionó Amy. Muchas gracias a todos ustedes que nos proporcionaron comentarios acerca de nuestros materiales de alcance. Iba a mostrar uno en este momento para dejarles saber los comentarios que ustedes nos proporcionaron. Alcanzamos a hacer cambios, especialmente a que es acerca de las cortacéspedes eléctricos. Pueden ver que hemos hecho el cambio que habían recomendado de tener el mapa. Voy a mover mi pantallita aquí un poquito. Pueden ver el mapa y las palabras que dicen: para ser elegible, su dirección debe estar ubicada dentro del límite rosa a continuación. Entonces, las personas pueden, tras de este folleto, pueden ver las calles donde, si viven en esta área color rosa, son elegibles para este programa para recibir un reembolso de hasta 100%, que viene siendo hasta $500 para la corta césped. Aparte de el mapa y las palabras, también agregamos un código QR que viene siendo el código de una respuesta rápida. Si usted tiene un teléfono inteligente o ciertos como un iPad o tableta, si usted toma una foto o una imagen de esto, le va a llevar a la página web donde también le va a mostrar este mismo mapa. Agregamos eso también. Otra cosa que agregamos debido a las recomendaciones de ustedes es de incluir las desmanteladoras que están participando en su comunidad, que viene siendo Sierra Recycling y SA Recycling. Y también, déjeme ver qué más. En esta creo que fueron las únicas cosas que agregamos para para este folleto. Aquí está el de español y luego ahorita voy a ver el de inglés para ustedes. Que viene siendo las próximas páginas. Y está otra vez, como les dije, en inglés con la misma información. Ya se enviaron estas copias a las personas que las solicitaron, pero si usted ocupa copias adicionales, por favor de comunicarse con Eric o conmigo y podemos enviarles estos folletos. Otra cosa que quisiéramos mencionar de lo que está pasando aquí en el Departamento de Alcance. La semana pasada nuestro equipo estuvo en la comunidad de Shafter. Estuvieron allí 2 días participando en las escuelas, en las actividades de Back to School, de regreso a clase y también a la salida y las entradas de clases. Entonces, nuestro equipo está enviando esos folletos y hablando con los padres y dándoles esa información. Y aparte de eso, en su comunidad van a estar allí la próxima semana, que viene siendo el día 3 y el día 4 de septiembre. El día 3 van a estar en la área de Lamont, en la escuela que se llama Myrtle Avenue Elementary. Y el día 4 ahorita está ya programado para ir a la Sierra Vista Elementary en Arvin, al igual que la escuela Bear Mountain Elementary. Todos ahí van a estar, como les digo, nuestro equipo va a estar ahí 2 días para estar hablando con los padres y dándoles información acerca de nuestros programas. Finalmente, nomás quisiera agregar de que la próxima reunión para el subcomité de alcance va a ser el día 12 de septiembre a las 4 de la tarde y los invitamos para que nos puedan acompañar para hablar un poco más acerca de los diferentes programas que tenemos y en qué nos pueden ayudar ustedes también. ¿Alguna pregunta? Si no, nomás quisiera otra vez terminar por diciendo muchas gracias por proporcionar esos comentarios, porque nos ayudan a poder dar esta información a los residentes para que ellos puedan entender y comprender qué es lo que está pasando con nuestros programas. María Estela, ¿tiene pregunta?
Sí, una pregunta. Las personas que calificaron para la cortadora de césped, ¿pueden calificar también para este programa de los 50 por si ocupan comprar algún accesorio que les haga falta?
Sí, es parte de del mismo programa, pero es para diferentes equipos, entonces sí pueden participar. Y eso para los $50 por cada pieza, no tienen que reemplazar una unidad, simplemente tienen que ir a comprar una nueva, ya sea una orilladora, un cortacetos, un motosierra o sierra de poste. Y al comprar ese equipo que es eléctrico, simplemente nos envían la solicitud y el recibo y nosotros podemos enviarles hasta $50 por cada pieza.
Otra pregunta, ¿se tendría que aplicar primero o primero comprar y mandarles a ustedes el recibo y aplicar?
Primeramente debe de comprar el equipo porque ese no va a tener que reemplazar nada. Entonces simplemente usted va a la tienda, compra el nuevo equipo y llena la solicitud que está en línea o nosotros podemos enviarle esta copia a una solicitud y luego la envía todo, la copia, el recibo y luego también la solicitud y nos lo envía y nosotros le mandamos el cheque.
Ok, gracias.
Ajá, y algo que quisiera agregar también no es nomás parece que pueden comprar como hasta 3, con que sean diferente equipo, ¿verdad? Ya sea la orilladora, un cortacetos, entonces puede ser 2 y puede ser $50 por cada pieza.
Está muy bien, gracias.
¿Otra pregunta, Elvia?
Iba a preguntar, yo compré la cortadora de las esquinas hace como 6 meses, no sé si yo califique todavía o ya no.
Es posible, déjeme investigar con alguien en ese departamento de incentivos y nosotros nos comunicamos de vuelta con usted mañana.
Ok, está bien, gracias.
Gracias. ¿Alguna otra pregunta? Ok, pues muchas gracias entonces. Y ya si tienen alguna pregunta, siempre se pueden comunicar con Eric o conmigo. Gracias, adiós.
Thank you so much, Maristela, for that update. It's so great to see how community input really is changing and driving outreach and engagement for the Arvin Lamont community. At this time, we're going to transition to our general standing updates. This time is an opportunity for agencies, whether it's the local agencies or state agencies, to provide you all with some updates regarding anything that impacts the work that you all do in your community and the lives that you have in your community. We're going to start with the Air District, and I know you've been hearing from the Air District directly this whole time, but this is an opportunity to hear about other things beyond what was on the agenda. Stephanie?
Thanks, Amy. This is Stephanie again. This is something new to our agenda, which was a great recommendation from the agenda setting meeting we had last month. One of our CSC members, Bianca, had the great suggestion of we regularly check in on our action items every single month, which is a great routine check-in and holds the district and other agencies accountable for things that you all are requesting. Bianca had the great suggestion of it'd be great to see the SERP tracker more regularly. Again, as a reminder, this is our monthly tracker. I know a lot of folks get this in the mail as a hard copy, but as a follow-up to that, Eric is actually going to walk through the tracker and plan to, similar to how we do the action items, highlight some of the newest updates to the SERP tracker since the previous month. With that, I'll pass to Eric.
Hi, thank you, Steph. Let me go ahead and share my screen and let me know when it's live. Perfect. Alrighty. So I'll go ahead and just have my screen up in the Spanish section. This is also in English and in Spanish. The link should be in the chat already. Thank you, Steph, for that introduction. So we do send SERP trackers to the folks that decide that they want to see them every month in paper copy. They're also attached to our website as well. I'll go ahead and just review quickly a little bit about the SERP tracker, a little bit about what it's for and what we do. So our top sections here, and again, this is also in English. These are our measure categories. So this is all of our SERP measures all the way down. And then I kind of have it zoomed in so folks could see it a little bit better as well. Just a heads up there. All right, so next is the actual SERP measures. So right here are the links and just some of the SERP measures. So this one's heavy duty truck replacements. This is the status updates. So you'll see, what we've been doing in recent times. So for example, 2B, we had in March, project plan was approved by CARB. And then we have our emissions reduction goals right here. So I'll go ahead and start. So our first item is for the residential lawn and garden equipment. As we kind of discussed a little bit about this program, we did have an in-person event that was very successful. And we, in that program, we gave, or in the SERP measure, in total, we've given out 209 units of that. So lawnmower equipments for folks, which equals $78,000. And this is our objective that we want to reach. And right here, again, these are the emission reduction goals that we want to reach. At the end here, you could contact the person in charge of this program. Their name's right here, along with their email. There's different folks for different programs. All right, I'll go ahead and go down to item 2D, which is our passenger vehicle replacement program. So we do have 70 applications to receive vehicles for this program as well, which in total equals out to 1.4 million. We're super excited about that. And right here in our status update section, we just wanted to highlight just some of the workshops and some of the great events that are going on, ranging from June to July. This has yet to be updated. We do have an upcoming event as well that will be on September 9th. All right, so scrolling down. Oh, and just to mention too, all of the green items are going to be the updated items. So every month there's going to be different items highlighted in green, just to let folks know that these are the most recent updates, just so they could be visible to folks. All right, let me go down. We have one more item to go. So 6A right here. And this is going to be the increased community awareness and knowledge of air quality. So Just to get more awareness into the community, we are launching some media campaigns, which include TV commercials, targeted social media, and digital ads. And some of the run dates are from July 22nd all the way to September 30th. So that concludes our most recent updates for the September SERP tracker. Go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Eric. So as Stephanie mentioned, this is the new update for us as part of the standing update. We would love to hear from CSC members and others if this is a good use of your time, any questions on what was presented, any feedback. Bianca, feel free to jump in before we transition into our next update. Gustavo?
Yeah, it's I don't know if this document is also or can other moving pieces can be included there, like the green barriers. I think I don't know what is going on up there. And just to add that for that, I had a meeting with the supervisor Couch and Glenn, the ag commissioner. It was a more civilized meeting with them. A little bit different of what the communication is being here at these meetings. I got two commitments. The commissioner agreed to meet with a group of us to talk about, at least to consider maybe improving the pesticide buffer zones. So he's open to that. The other one that he mentioned is that he already provided, in terms of the green barriers, he mentioned that he already provided information to the district. He also agreed to collaborate with us in identifying and communicating with growers. So I think that's, in my opinion, a good commitment from the ag commissioner. And we are going to set a meeting with him to follow up in these two issues, but I want to be sure that we are in coordination with the district. How can we all coordinate the efforts to move ahead? So, and I think our idea is that we want to present a copy of the specific sites that the residents want green barriers to be established, and together with Glenn, identify those sites and identifying the growers. Glenn said he was open to, if he knew those growers, open to talk to them and try to help us convince them, but he's open to that conversation. I just want to be sure that we have, and I know that we had subcommittee meetings for the green barriers, but I want to be sure that now that I believe we are making progress with the commissioner to do that, and also I think somehow it connected to the pesticide piece, but I just want to have that in our radar to be sure that we capitalize on this new willingness to collaborate.
Thanks, Gustavo. This is Stephanie. And if I quickly could just respond to Gustavo and provide maybe the whole CSC with some vegetative barriers updates. I think that was the initial question, right, Gustavo? I think we're perfectly aligned with this timeline and kind of the work that's being done both on the community side and then also on the district side. As some quick updates, like Gustavo mentioned, we did meet as a vegetative barrier subcommittee not too long ago. And from that meeting, kind of got the feedback and the direction to be able to release the request for proposal. As a reminder to folks, that request for proposal or RFP is something that we release to find someone to implement the program. The district, we aren't tree planting experts. And so it's basically something that goes out to find a tree planting expert to be able to do the work. And so we are definitely aligned. Our team is finalizing that request for proposal and should be able to release soon, hopefully at the beginning of September. And when that's released, we'll definitely let the committee know. But I definitely, Gustavo, appreciate the work that you're doing. I think just as an update to the whole group, we've also been working with Glenn, and I know that Glenn has sent out to his membership and has posted on the website information about the Vegetative Barriers Program for both of our Kern County communities as well, and has shared that same commitment that if he knows someone in a certain location that he's been willing to reach out as well. Some other work that we're doing, we also very recently met with the Kern County Farm Bureau as well, that also has membership in Kern County, and also kind of, similar asks as, there's some prioritized areas that the committee has shared already. If, between the Kern County Farm Bureau and between the Kern County Ag Commissioner, if they could reach out to these folks like in these areas and might have better, connections that would help the process along to get the information out. That's really, I think, a good goal to have. So I think we are well aligned, and the proposal should be out soon so that if there are folks that are interested in it, they can apply to it.
Yeah, so I think soon we'll send the tentative dates to meet with Glenn. And I think ideally, if the request for proposals will be out when we meet with Glenn, will be great, because if we identify, any relationships that Glenn may have, I think having that application available, that will be great, to be very specific on how to move. So you said early September. Any idea when exactly you may have it, so we can plan maybe around that?
This is Stephanie. The goal is to release on September 9th. That's still our team. And I just checked in with the team, and that's still the deadline that they're looking to hit as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. So we will plan maybe to set the meeting with Glenn after that, and encourage you to keep working with him. But I think in our end, from the community side, we also want to take the opportunity that he's also willing to collaborate with us.
We love that. Awesome. Thanks, Gustavo, for asking that question.
Yeah, and thanks for the feedback, Gustavo, noted. And we'll make sure that the priority CERT measures get updated as well during this time that's allocated for general update. At this time, I'd love to pass it to Carv, and I see Michelle has already posted in the chat some updates. Michelle, anything else to add regarding some of the work that Carv is launching right now?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything extra other than I'll just let the interpreters know. I'm trying to get the Spanish version posted in the chat too. But no, nothing else to report except that I'm always here to reach out. I'm so glad to hear that you all are moving forward with your infrastructure projects. It's super exciting. Yeah, thank you.
This is Stephanie. Michelle, I do think we have the time, Michelle. I think in the interest of making sure it gets interpreted for the group, I think even just, would you mind reading off the update? That way we can,
oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm like in the middle. I don't multitask very well. I'm trying to write and talk at the same time. Yeah, so basically either tomorrow, online only, or on September 12th in Lamont in person, our research division staff is going to come, and they're looking to, in this next 5-year plan that they do, this is something they do regularly, to really incorporate environmental justice into their research plan. And I can tell you this very personally with another community that I work with, this really comes out in like which communities are chosen and what kind of projects are chosen. And so it's super important to really hear from the community about what they think has been lacking or what they would think should change within the research program. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, these would be really helpful for you to come out and really influence the way the next 5 years of this this work gets done within research. So definitely encourage you to come to them. And I'm going to send this also via email to the district, who will distribute it to you all. So you'll see it again.
Wonderful. And I'm just reading the notes Michelle, and it looks like there'll be one in Lamont, September 12th. So just want to highlight that, given that clearly this is the priority for everyone that's in this meeting tonight, that this would be, I did strongly encourage you as a community member myself, to mark your calendars for that September 12th date and think about sharing your insights and all of your wise recommendations for the California Air Resources Board. And more to come during the follow-up email that you should be coming out. So as a reminder, that meeting will happen before we get to see each other for the next CSC meeting. So we'd love to ensure that you all have access to that content and have the opportunity to participate. At this time, we're going to transition to an update from the Department of Pesticide Regulations. I did see Aniela somewhere. I'm looking at my boxes. There you are. Hi, Aniela.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Aniela. I actually have no updates at this time, but if there's any questions about anything, I'm happy to discuss.
Thanks, Aniela. I'm sure you will welcome that silence for tonight. It's perfect. We'll have tons to share with you at the next pesticide subcommittee, I'm sure. Thank you so much. And if you could put your contact in the chat, just so that folks can reach out to you in case they have anything comes up after they think a little bit more about what they had to share. So at this time, I am going to open up the floor to any other agency that has an update that impacts residents in the AB 617 region for the Arvin Lamont area. Right. I am going to interpret the silence as no other updates from other agencies. So at this time, we're going to transition to wrapping up our meeting for tonight. Oh, I'm seeing Stephanie. Your yellow hand is blending with your background tonight. Go for it, Steph.
Sorry, Amy, this is Stephanie. I know you were just about to wrap up, but I have a very quick announcement. Eric sent the email out today, but I just wanted to share a reminder that there is going to be a passenger vehicle replacement workshop. I think folks know that Valley Clean Air Now, or Valley CAN, has been hosting these monthly. And so there is another Valley CAN replacement workshop happening on Monday, September 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Bear Mountain Pizza. And so if you yourself want to participate, or you have neighbors or friends or family that hasn't been to it but is interested in the program and has any questions, definitely please encourage them to attend this workshop. And if you have any questions, just let us know. Of course, Tanya, the time is 5:30 to 7:30.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie, for that update. This is Amy. So at this time, now we will transition to wrapping up. I am going to pass it to my colleague, Maddie Rayon, who you've seen on camera before, and many of you have met in person when we've had the Arvin Lamont in-person meetings in December, and this year you'll get to see her in person again. So you'll start to see Maddie present more during these meetings as she's officially joined our facilitation team and is officially part of the Arvin Lamont facilitation team. Maddie, if you could wrap us up for tonight, that'd be great.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Amy. Hi, everybody. This is Maddie. Just want to extend a thank you to everybody tonight for being engaged in our conversation. Sounds like there's a lot of really exciting things that are coming up. And so just wanted to thank you all for your engagement today. So as we mentioned at the start of the meeting and also in the standing updates, to help develop transparency and accountability, we're going to take a moment to review the action items that came up during our meeting today. And so I'll be sharing those action items on my screen and we'll go through them. I think there's 3. Once we go through them, please feel free to ask for clarification or ask us to update any actions to make sure that they're accurate. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Can you see that okay? Okay, see some head nods. So the first action item that we have noted is moving forward with support for the 2 City of Arvin proposals for the 2 paving projects and leave Comanche Street for future proposals. So that's the first one. The second one is the City of Arvin will come back to the CSC with the Comanche Street proposal. And the third one that we've noted is that the AD will follow up with Elvia regarding what tools qualify for the residential lawn and garden exchange program. So I'll go ahead and pause and check with folks to see that these are accurate, if there's anything missing or anything you'd add. Yes, Gustavo, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, is it possible to add maybe also as a follow-up maybe the publishing of the application for the green barriers, just to be sure that we are on track?
Yes, absolutely, Gustavo. Thank you for raising that. We are noting it right now in our action items tracker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else coming up for folks?
This is Stephanie. Maybe also to that, Maddie, and notify the CSC once it's released.
Yes, definitely, Stephanie. We'll add that in there as well. Anything else coming up for folks in terms of the action items from today's meeting? Okay. So I don't see any hands raised, although feel free to let me know if I missed or anything in the chat. So we've got these settled. Thank you everybody for developing these action items together. And we'll move on to just a couple of reminders about some upcoming dates. So I'll share my screen, something a little bit different, but that you're all familiar with. And so some of the upcoming dates, just to keep in mind and put in your calendars. So we have the agenda setting meeting scheduled for September 5th from 4 to 5 via Zoom. So we really encourage folks to join those as those are another space for your voices to be heard and what we're going to be talking about next. Following that, we also have our next CSC meeting scheduled for September 25th from 5 to 7 p.m. via Zoom as well. And then we have 2 subcommittees coming up that we really want to encourage folks to attend. The first one is the Outreach Subcommittee meeting. That's scheduled for September 12th from 4 to 5 via Zoom. And then we also have the Pesticide Subcommittee meeting scheduled for September 24th from 4 to 5:30 via Zoom. So we really encourage folks to be there. We hope to see you all there and engaged with some of that content. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And next, I'd like to invite our co-leads to share some closing remarks.
Yeah, I can jump in. There's definitely quite a bit of subcommittee meetings. I know this was our 42nd and like around 3.5 years of our CSC meeting, but there's been a lot of subcommittee engagement as well. So I'd like to extend a thank you to everyone that's been in this meeting today and all of the subcommittee meetings, and will continue to be engaged. We are very active and I think continue to be the largest subcommittee in California.
Thank you so much, Cesar, for your closing remark. I do see we have a hand up from Mario. Mario, go for it.
Yeah, could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if it's still allowed for burning out in the fields, especially when they're in the school zone.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Mario. Just to clarify, you were asking a question about if they're still burning out in the schools?
No.
Okay.
They're still permitted to burn because there was how you say there was the farm workers was burning wood, not just wood, grape vineyards, vines. And they were close to two schools, Sunset and Violent. I forgot to mention it. And I called and they told me that but my understanding was they didn't have permission to be burning close to the school.
Thank you for clarifying, Mario. Stephanie, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, this is Stephanie. Thanks, Mario, for your question. And I also see Gustavo Aguirre, I think, was clarifying the same thing, that I think maybe, Gustavo, you're talking about some burning of agricultural materials on farms, which that can be allowable, but would need to be permitted by the district, and is, of course, something that can only happen on a day where air quality is good, and that's allowable. And so if you'd like, Gustavo, it sounds like you've reported these issues to maybe our complaint line, so I can have one of our inspectors follow up with you if you have any additional questions.
Mario. It's Mario.
Yeah, thanks, Mario. Would you like one of our?
Yes, Stephanie, I was just trying to help clarify, I think Mario's point, I think, is that it was, I think he was referring to ag burning. But I don't have any other reports other than that. Thank you.
Yeah, the thing was that it was a school day and there was burning right there next to the school. I got videos, I got pictures, and I just wanted to know, my understanding, it was not permitted because even the young lady who I talked to said that there was no information for them to be burning, especially next to the school, two schools.
Thanks, Mario. This is Stephanie again. We can definitely have one of our inspectors follow up with you with some more information to confirm, is this a permitted, burn, or is it something else? We can have someone on our team reach out to you tomorrow to follow up.
Oh yeah, I could send them videos or pictures, whatever they want to. All right.
Thanks, Mario.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mario, and we've noted that as an action item for the Air District to follow up with you on. So that sounds good. I also wanted to check in with Bianca to see if you also had any closing remarks.
Well, I wanted to thank the facilitating company to keep us on track. I think it's important, but also reiterate that we are moving along in a lot of the projects that we are working on the SERP. And I wanted to echo what my co-lead was mentioning, that I know it's been a lot of meetings, but I think progressively we've been seeing some really good changes in our communities, especially finishing some of the SERP that we have listed in the beginning, and do appreciate every single key players here, starting from like the Air District to CARB to the city of Arvin, to the engineer. I know that they've been working tremendously, and also the CSC. I think we should give a big round of applause for the communities that have been working and have been sticking with us in making this possible, because without you guys, I don't think we would be able to move along a lot of these projects.
Thank you so much, Bianca. This is Maddie. Appreciate your celebratory closing remark as we wrap up today. I'd also like to invite Stephanie to share any closing remarks.
This is Stephanie. I just want to echo Bianca and Cesar's excitement, and this meeting is just a huge testament to how committed this group is to improving air quality in the community, from giving us feedback of how our outreach material can be better to reach residents, to really doing the work, meeting with us, meeting with the Air District, meeting with the city of Arvin to provide your feedback to be able to move forward with these paving projects. It's such an amazing process, and really is a celebration of the work that you all are doing and your commitment to the community. So I just wanted to thank you all for the work. I also wanted to share special thanks, like Bianca said, to Christine and then also Sam from the city of Arvin. It's clear that this meeting went so well because of all of the work that they did. I know that they met with a lot of community members, got that feedback, and really brought us proposals that represented what the community wanted. So I just wanted to thank again the city of Arvin for their work, and thank all of you. And I'm so excited to be able to move forward with the projects that we did support today.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. This is Maddie. And with that said, I'm happy to close out tonight's meeting with our final public comment. Are there any public comments at this time? Taking a pause here, looking for any raised hands or anything in the chat. And I think we're set. I don't see anything coming up. So thank you, everybody. I'm happy to pass it back to my colleagues, Amy and Liz, to end the meeting tonight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that's it. We can wrap up for tonight. And again, just want to thank you all. It was a really great meeting. And yeah, it really warms my heart, honestly, to see all of you show up time and time again and keep putting the work forward. So thank you and hope you all have a good night.
Good night.
Buenas noches a todos.
Gracias, buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Gracias, buenas noches. Buenas noches, Bianca.
Gracias.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.